I do think, though, that values are at the heart of what makes for good communications. I think values, because when you don't have, it's values that makes you determine how you're going to perform. For private sector organizations or non-profits, there's a mission, and then there's a vision, and there are values, and there is a commitment. And when you've made that commitment either to your customers, your suppliers, the government, the regulators, you have to meet up with it, and their investors, and so there are a lot of checks and balances on private sector. So they have to, whether you like it or not, the values you must hold to it. If even if you the values of either delivery, if you invest in us, you can't afford to be making promises that you don't fulfill. That's the challenge that the public sector has. The public sector is very good at making promises that they do not fulfill. And the problem is, because there are no consequences, it's so difficult to hold them accountable. For that reason, the kind of and this is just my own reflection, my own thoughts. For that reason, my thinking is that the kind of incentives and the drivers that force and constrain private sector and non-profits to develop values that they have to hold to, so that they can meet up with the commitments that the people that their investors, shareholders, and customers are holding them to, they have to deliver it. So therefore, their communications, everything lines up. If in private sector you say something about your product that is not true, and people find out, they will call you out about it. They will drag you. Your sales will go down. So because of that, you will have to improve not just your product quality, your service quality, and then your communications has to also rise up as well. But in public sector, those drivers and incentives are not there. And even when you're not happy with the public sector, it's very difficult to cause that immediate change. We're seeing it all over the world, even in developed countries. And I think that's the challenge of communications, because communications needs a route for it to be done in a strategic and an authentic way. If your values, you do not have a commitment to a vision, a mission, to values, and you're not holding yourself accountable to anything or anyone other than yourself, then it's impossible for you to be strategic in your communications. It's impossible for you to be inclusive. It's impossible for you to have communications that people will see themselves in. The communications will be definitely lean more to the negative spectrum of things. And I think this is why sometimes in the public sector we see people who are positive lights, and others who just, are on the other side of the spectrum, because at the end of the day, it depends on you.